Look, I've just been in listening to S1501f. And I got to the point where, just before, rather, talking about Eckhart Tolle and synchronicity. And the title of the recording is Synchronicities. And I don't know if my mind, but I suddenly slipped. As when you slip on a slippery floor and in a moment you're going to go crashing down onto the floor. Now, I'm 77. You might think, oh, well, of course, he's doddery. I'm not. Got it? I may be 77, but I'm not dead yet. Now, what happens with very cheap shoes is that they get slippery soles, and on a wet surface. I remember walking around the lake, I slipped with a pair of shoes that I knew were slippery, and it just happened to be wet at that moment. I slipped on the grass, and fortunately it was grass and not concrete. And although I landed at some risk to the back, I was okay. Well, after being absolutely still for a few minutes and wondering how on earth I was going to get from there to the car, and finally managing to get to my feet again, and feeling very embarrassed with the occasional walker that went by and wondered why on earth I was lounging in such a peculiar place on the side of the path. Anyway, that's an aside. What's important is that in listening to that recording just now, it's as if my mind, in hindsight, had momentarily lapsed and I slipped. You know, like you do sometimes, you're partly asleep and you jolt suddenly into waking up. You may have had that sort of experience. Something of that order, but I mean, I was not asleep. I was very much immersed in listening to the recording. And of course, given my lack of humility, very impressed with what I was listening to. Sorry about that. Oh my goodness, this man loves himself, what a narcissist. But yeah, I jolted. And I'm reminded that I've got a pair of shoes, yet again, cheap of course, that have got to a similar situation. And it occurs to me that in spite of the fact they are not by any means worn out, I should not wear them. In fact, I should keep them safely from me. Throw them away, Marshall. Don't give them to anyone either. I mean, I've never given a pair of shoes away as far as I know. Throw them in the bin. You're going to be like that with things that you know are a curse to you. You put them in the bin, never to be revisited. They've gone in the landfill, out of harm's way, so to speak. Sorry if you're an environmentalist. I don't think an environmentalist should have landfills, do you? I certainly don't want my kitchen waste, fruit waste, to be wasted in a landfill. I use it as compost on my tiny vegetable plots. But to the point, here, you got something bad in your life that's a danger to you. Get rid of it. It's madness to leave it. your harm's way. Protect yourself. You're to keep yourself from evil. Why? Because evil wrecks your life, makes you unhappy, desperate. We don't want that. You don't want it for yourself, you don't want it for anyone else. Any life form you want to rescue, protect. Probably because you're a child of God. Bless you. But do that. When you identify something that's actually dangerous in your life, do what you can to separate yourself from it, as securely separate from it as possible. And if you can't do that, take it very earnestly to God and see if He gives you an answer. It can crop up in the most surprising ways, miraculous little ways. And you just think, oh, I can do so-and-so. Or even, wow, it's vanished away, it's slipped from me. Even, may I peculiarly say, gets reinterpreted. And you find the danger has vanished, it's not there. It's gone. This is especially so with difficulties you may have with difficult people. Suddenly you realize they weren't difficult, they were coping with so-and-so. And your heart goes out to them, and they're no longer the hazard that you thought they were. It's all changed. Everything's sunshine again. You see, we are living in some ways as a dream, in that it's transitory. It can change not just overnight, but in an instant. And you find that which was a great distress has gone, just gone, vanished. It's I misunderstood that. It's not a problem after all. That's an incredible blessing when things like that happen. And they're part of your miracles in life. You should write them down. It's a great blessing to you sometimes to read of your blessings in the past. You know, the Hebrew thing was you build an Ebenezer, which I think was a pile of stones, to remind you and to remind others that the way to go, the goodness of God. It is that recognition of the sheer kindness of God in your life that transforms you into His loveliness. Well, I didn't think I was going to say that. I didn't think that would come from realizing that this sudden experience in my mind of slipping, just as if I was semi-off asleep, and you know how you can fall, and you think, I didn't fall, of course I'm laying here in bed, I'm not. But for a moment in your mind you were slipping on something or falling into something. You may say, oh, these are glimpses of madness, Marshall, you're off your trolley. But fortunately, most of us have experienced such at any point in time in life. So you might not be making such a hard judgment of me. But that's beside the point. What is the point is, let me give you this parallel, this parable. If you have a pair of shoes that are slippery, do not wear them. Throw them away so that neither you nor anyone else wears them. Be rational. And I'm not just talking about shoes, am I? I'm talking about obvious catastrophic hazards that can be in your life, except you put them far from you. Do it, love. Protect yourself when I cannot protect you. That's what we would say to our kids, isn't it? Because we love them. And you're loved. I mean, quite simply, God loves you. And the realization of that utterly transforms your whole being by His grace and His goodness that you become mindful of. Bless you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Pause before you come into a roundabout when you're driving. It could save your life. It could save you an awful lot of inconvenience with accidents and claims and discord and, repairs and so forth and expense. So you're going to pause. You're going to get that hazard out of your life. You're not going to chance it every time. Road junctions, that's where some nasty accidents happen, Someone's chatting to you in the car when you're driving. It's a distraction. I got kids, I move from home to school, school to home. And I'm training them, I'm saying, be aware of the driver, love. Your safety relies on him. So when he's at a roundabout, let him concentrate. Don't chat or disturb with a sudden, shout or scream or, you're full of the joys of spring, of course, and that's lovely. But in a sense, I'm saying again, get this hazard out of your life. It can be extremely costly if you don't. I'm saying it for their good, aren't I? I'm trying to protect them through life. Perhaps it's something you eat that you just know in your heart is bad for you. For argument's sake, you're addicted to chocolates or alcohol or, cheese, and cheese is bad for you. I know that cheese causes, amazingly, my scalp to become very itchy and irritated. It drives you mad. I had it as a youth when I used to eat blocks of cheese at lunchtime, thinking it was good for me and not knowing it was causing this. But once you do know that a certain food is not good for you, don't put it in your larder. Don't put it in your bag when you're in the supermarket to buy, at the checkout. Don't have anything to do with it. There are people that are a menace in your life. They just are. In truth, they are not a blessing. Avoid them. This doesn't sound very kind, does it? But, you're not in harmony. You're not good for each other. You're in the wrong place if you're together. Whatever the lesson is he needs to learn, it's not with you. The cost is too high. I don't mean be selfish, but I do mean be rational. If you don't survive in happiness and well-being, it's very hard to be a blessing to others or to yourself. So you have a purpose, a goal, a responsibility to protect yourself from falling, from hazard. It's applied everywhere, isn't it? You hold the handrail when you go down the stairs because with regards walking and so on, this is the more dangerous time. And if you fall on the stairs, you fall a long way. It could be very costly. So you hold the handrail. But perhaps when you're on an escalator in public, you don't. You know, perhaps germ theory is valid, and perhaps it's not a good idea to touch everything that everyone else has touched. So unless there's a great need for stability there, you have a different habit or procedure. You don't unnecessarily touch everything in the public toilet. You know, in other words, you're going to, again, very earnestly avoid at least the obvious hazards in your life. Why should I be saying this? For your care and protection. And for the blessing of us all, that we're caring for each other. Do you see sometimes your criticism of what I'm doing, as it's seen, can be a great blessing to me? You know, so I say, listen to me, love. I'm talking to the kids, aren't I? I speak to help you and to bless you in life. You could say this is a criticism. You're claiming that you're trying to constrain them and restrict their freedom. You bet. I want their health and well-being. I want their prosperity. I am come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. And suddenly you think, this is a very good friend. He's not criticizing me to hurt me. It's a criticism to say, goodness, if you put this right, you'll be happier, won't you? I'm come that you might have life. And you know, people that are like that, you want specifically in your life. This is the reverse side of the coin to what I'm suggesting in this recording, aren't I? Get the bad out and put the good in. Whatsoever's good and lovely, put it in your life. Think on it. Think on these things. And whatever is not, put it far from you. Avoid such programs, such readings, such company, such environments. Be rational, in other words, consistent with your survival and well-being, joy and fulfillment. Bless you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.